Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper this evening, Skep trying to talk. And with me, I have Minions Prospero.
Hello.
Johnny Hellcat.
Hello.
And the Harry Channel.
I'm just a blank, empty
Indiana
box.
Jones.
Yeah, we should just call you Dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That's not my favorite Animaniac. Sorry, not you can't.
No.
I hope everybody is wonderful this evening. How was your day, Prospero?
It was.
I know you've got some personal developments that are, and they're good ones. You're getting anxious.
Yeah, getting anxious about the house, but all things will occur in their time, I'm sure. But the day was interesting. I spent far too much of it on my ass in front of the keyboard, just gawking at Twitter.
Yeah.
So that's not what I would consider a productive day by any stretch of the imagination. But it was entertaining. That's from a standpoint of flirting dangerously with sodium overdose. Very entertaining. How was your day?
Oh, it was a good day. I ate the first radish we harvested.
Hot diggity.
It was perfect.
Oh,
it was the best. I swear this is not overstating. It is the best tasting radish I've ever put in my mouth.
I have a question. When you thin your radishes, which is a necessity, planting them unless you start them in individual pods.
We're putting them in bags. Yes, individual bags. We are the labor-intensive farm.
Oh, okay. Because
Skep doesn't have anything else to do.
Well, maybe next year you'll consider just seed scattering, and then you can harvest the microgreens.
Yeah.
Have you ever had radish microgreens?
Microgrades?
Greens.
Microgreens.
Yeah, it's the babies. It's when you thin your radishes, the little bits, the microgreens.
Radish greens. I know what you're talking about. I have never had those.
Radish microgreens are exquisite.
Really?
They're absolutely exquisite.
Good.
We went out.
We need more land than we have to.
We went out to the farm for Earth Day, and there was a lady selling varying microgreens to taste. And she said, there are people that say if you try the spicy mustard green microgreens with this radish green, it'll taste like horseradish. Well, it tasted more like radish to me. It was absolutely delicious. And I mean, the only reason I would recommend microgreens is nutrient wise.
I will definitely check that out. I didn't want to get off into the farming stuff because I can talk about that all night.
But just if you run into microgreens like packaged at a farmer's market or in your own backyard or something like that, give them a shot because they pack a lot of flavor and they'd be something great to like dot inside a sandwich wrap.
To the Dallas farmer's market. Go get ripped off.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I know. They have such great deals there. No, they don't. Not ever.
Well, I'm glad.
Not ever.
I'm glad you had a perfect radish, though.
That was pretty wonderful. So that was kind of fun. Growing. That was the first time we ever tried to grow radishes. We're not honestly as used to having things work for us the first time. The only things that ever worked for us the first time was beans. But anyway, so that was my day. Johnny, how's your day, man? Got us muted, and he's probably away from that. So we'll push the Harry.
No, I'm not.
Okay, there you are.
I was talking, but I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, because the cats were fighting in the background, so they love to do that.
So how was your day?
About as good as a customer service advocate could possibly be. So, no, it's been a good day.
The customers are great, aren't they?
The worst part of customer service, as I say.
So I was going to say, as good a day as customer service can be, which means fair to middling.
No, I hung up with one guy and I'm like, why can't the rest of the callers be like this guy?
Yeah.
And that was the apex of the thing. And it was mostly just like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I just need to see if I can get a card. Okay. Got it. There you go. Move on.
Yeah. Not hi. How are you? How's your day going? None of that.
No, there are several old people who are just like, oh, bless you. And I'm like, oh, God, I want to talk to you more often.
Yeah.
Like,
no kidding.
It's so easy to be nice to people on the phone, too. And it just gets you so much farther.
No kidding.
Anything that you do. I've never understood the rationale of people who just feel the need to emote over the phone and beat the shit out of a customer service rep. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
They like the assumed anonymity. It's a little bit like Twitter.
That's actually a good point. Where's Harry? Come back, Harry.
To a degree, yes, but it's more over just a lack of education. A lot of people don't pay attention to things that they get. And so they go in assuming, that, because I got insurance, everything's going to be hunky-dory. And they don't understand that shit is expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay to save, which, I mean, it sucks. Believe me, it does. But it could be worse.
Well, there you go. And I was about to go to Harry, and he still has not rejoined us. I have the feeling that he's probably trying to do that now, although I don't have a message from him. So, but let's just charge into it. So, was there anything in the news today? Any big doings in Washington D.C. or anything? Or just another boring day?
No, boring was last week. Elon was last week. This is the whole leak of the SCOTUS thing yesterday that has just left everyone an expert on reproductive rights and the Supreme Court, which is pretty fascinating. They also seem to be not experts on separation of powers, but that's the more complex portion of their problems. That the hyperbole was the name of the game. And it was pretty glorious. It was pretty glorious. You had the Joy Reids, who in one tweet managed to announce that she knows nothing about the Constitution.
I am so glad you brought that up. Could you talk a little bit about that tweet that you responded to? I'll go fetch it.
Oh, okay.
I'll go get that,
because I
talk a little bit about what her assumptions are, and
I don't want her wording to be wrong. My wording of her to be wrong, but
I feel you.
I gotta scroll back a bit because there was a lot of it today. Okay, this is Joy Reid basically.
Your feet is such a right. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following Prospero 058, you are missing out, because her feed is just a treasure to waltz through.
I believe this
so
is
much sarcasm.
I believe this is the can't even mode.
Yeah, this is absolutely my can't even mode. Because this has just a magnificent amount of stupidity. She's quoting a passage that says, "We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion, and no such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, including the one on which the defenders of Roe and Casey now chiefly rely, the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. That provision has been held to guarantee some rights that are not mentioned in the Constitution, but any such right must be deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition and implicit in the concept of ordered liberty." It's quoting Washington v. Glucksberg there. But what she said is, Mr. Alito, you know what else the Constitution doesn't reference? Racial equality, the right of black people or women to vote, desegregation, LGBTQ rights, including to marry and interracial marriage, yet all those things were affirmed by previous SCOTUS decisions. Oh, right. All right, Joy. We're going to have a little discussion about those numbered things that come at the end of the Constitution.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you. I'm so glad you brought this up, because I've been wanting to ask you this question since I heard about the story. Is it not your understanding that the operative law with respect to what may be interpreted from what is in the Constitution is anything that is in there directly, or anything that may be implicit in the concept? I was reading implicit in the concept, or implicit in the language of the Constitution. In other words, it's directly implied in there.
Yeah.
And as the Constitution, which for some reason the commentators on TV seem to not understand, has been amended since it was originally signed. Is that your understanding also?
Yes, those are those little numbered things at the end that Joyce.
The numbery things.
Absolutely. They fall under a label called the Bill of Rights, if you're talking about the first 1 through 10. But after that, the rest of them are called, as are the Bill of Rights, mind you, amendments. And these would include amendments that dealt with, racial equality, the right of black people or women to vote. It's LGBTQ rights even, because that 14th Amendment that is mentioned in what she is quoting deals with that. The 19th deals with the right of women to vote.
Yep.
The 13th deals with manumission, for fuck's sake. How can anyone be this fucking stupid?
She just wants to foist her narrative.
All I said is she just aborted the Bill of Rights. It doesn't exist. Surprise. Yeah. Honest to God, I thought this was the dumbest thing I could read. And then Anna Navarro came along. Well, Eric Swalwell. So it's kind of hard.
What did Swalwell say?
Oh, good Christ. Swalwell was a magnificent wonder. The person who beat Swalwell up all day long, the best, was the science fiction author Larry Correia. He just kicked Swalwell up and down the curb. And it was absolutely spectacular. But let's see if I can find the Swalwell. I'm almost certain I quote tweeted him at some point, because, here we go. The Republicans won't stop with banning abortion. They want to ban interracial marriage. Or as Larry Correia said, that's right. Clarence Thomas wants to ban interracial marriage. Do you want to say that? Well, then you should probably vote. Look, you fuck-witted nincompoop.
Here is what Swalwell poses. He says, now it's time for every House GOP member to answer the following questions. Picture a 20-year-old unmarried girl, pregnant, and I didn't do it.
Is she named Fang Fang?
Hang on. It's too late I'm reading his tweet. It's too late to have a talk with her about abstinence, and she is not ready to have a baby. If she tries to cross the border to seek medical relief, are we going to stop her? Are we going to chain her to her bed? Are we planning to pay for her prenatal care, her delivery, her child care? So we all and the media must ask every Republican who taught this man to write, what exactly do the logistics of government-mandated pregnancy look like? He really cannot write. They can't answer it. So we must never allow government-mandated pregnancy. Government-mandated pregnancy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's Eric for you.
What? What?
Yeah, Eric's confusing his friends in China with the Uyghur
No
women,
kidding.
but he's
It's got to be a nightmare between those ears.
the wind blows constantly.
So it's like Hawaii.
It's like winter on the Great Plains.
It's like a dust storm in the Sahara.
Yeah.
Kansas.
There's nothing.
Arizona.
Nothing. This guy is the dumbest person in Congress. And that is saying something. Because you've got Jayapal, who is a complete nincompoop.
Well, let's not forget Ilhan Omar.
Oh, yeah. But Eric.
He's about as smart as a box of rocks.
I'd give odds to the box of rocks, to tell you the truth.
If they were taking the SATs side by side, I would agree with you.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I think he and Jayapal and a few others are fighting over the crayons for lunch. That's the only thing that can. And their favorite colored crayon is what now, Harry? I believe it's the ham-colored crayon. This is just.
Yeah.
I can't even. Literally, Johnny's right. I can't even.
You just can't even.
I just
can't even.
The ham-colored crayon is, I think, the one you're asking about.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
The ham-colored crayon. And it's
Wait, what? Why don't I know about this? What is the ham-colored crayon?
My favorite color is ham. It is
okay.
You know, after you leave at the end of the show and go to bed because you have things to do, I show Prospero really offensive memes, which we can't show right now.
Yes. And there's one of a very enthusiastic young lady announcing that her favorite color is ham.
Yeah.
It's just such a funny sounding sentence. Harry, how are you doing, man?
Oh, just living the dream, man.
Yeah.
I went to sleep at 8:40 last night, woke up at 1:20, spent an hour and a half cleaning the kitchen, and then worked until, I don't know, noonish or something. And then I've just been sort of wandering around like a zombie all day.
That sounds like a developer schedule.
Yeah, isn't it, though?
I did that for a long time.
Yeah, I wanted to try to get a demo to work, but alas, it was not to be. But my kitchen is very clean.
Were you trying to clean your kitchen in hopes that it would make you tired and sleepy again?
I was sort of, I know I'm not going to make it back to sleep. I know I shouldn't touch a computer. Maybe I should just do something useful and clean my kitchen.
I'll do something like that in the hopes that I'll get sleepy again. Just on the off chance that there's maybe another hour and a half left in the old bag of Morpheus.
Mm-hmm.
It never works. You know, it never works because that doesn't happen until like right after lunch.
Yeah.
And then it's like coma induced.
Yeah.
It's a parasympathetic reflex.
Yeah,
well, and also being tired by lunchtime, if you've been up for 10 hours, you're like,
oh yeah. But I mean, then you eat something on top of being physically fatigued, you're going to go to sleep.
Absolutely. That's why naps are wonderful. Harry, I'm sorry. Johnny, I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was gonna say I couldn't work while I'm tired to like get myself to go to sleep because once if I start like doing something like cleaning the kitchen, like I can't stop until it's done. It's like once you get started, you can't stop it, and then you just like, oh, it's just gonna turn. It's just gonna be a one little thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's never one little thing.
A man who likes to clean the kitchen, ladies,
already taken.
They always are. It's just like, excuse me, did you say you'd like to clean the kitchen?
And actually, she's the one working 2 jobs now, so I kind of have to.
Yeah.
You got to lean in or step back or whatever it is. I don't know. There was like a campaign where the NBA tried to give everybody else life lessons. Because when I think well-adjusted family life, I think the NBA.
Right. Well, they had to. They didn't want to be as bad as the NFL. Okay, it's just.
Well, it's like Johnny and Amber, but with reach. You know, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
a wicked
good.
backhand.
Yeah.
So did you solve all the world's problems while I was having technical issues?
That's what I figured. You were having technical issues. You were probably wrestling with.
Where's my damn Davis?
No, Firefox decided to be my color is ham.
Okay, okay, yeah. I did think of you today. I may be just temporarily plunged back into the workforce. An old customer called me up and said, "Hey, you know this tape system you set up?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, it's not working anymore. We tried to restore something, and there's something wrong with the tape." I said, "Okay. Have you been, rotating the tapes like, we talked about 3 years ago?" I don't think so.
Oh, for God's
Okay.
sake.
Okay. I told them I'd cruise by day after tomorrow.
Good. It's a lot cheaper than flying me out there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. I promise you, my hourly rate is a lot less than yours. But I installed this. I can fix it for them. Figure out what's wrong with it.
What's the tape format?
That one is it's a mini cartridge.
Like an 8mm, 4mm, or bigger?
No, it's a what are those? Oh no, it's 4mm. That's what it is.
Little baby ones, just
Little
like
babies.
those are the
Tiny ones.
same ones that people used to use to in the later days of the Grateful Dead to basically get audio off the mixing
Right.
board.
Right.
That was like the great format because it was just this little tiny thing that looked like a cassette, but
Yeah.
you could just get really damn good digital audio recording on those.
Very sharp corners on those things.
I was picturing VCR tape.
When he said really short corners, I just thought, I guess they're not very popular in prison.
Oh, God damn it.
Probably not. But anyway, so that could be an odd thing for me to get to revisit the working world and actually do something technical, do something that doesn't involve pulling unwanted green plants out of the ground.
Okay, if you need a refresher, fuck you for Christmas. It's not something people generally want to hear in an office.
No.
There's that.
Yeah, there's it. I have to remind myself when on the way to certain social events, this is not a YouTube broadcast.
No, that's absolutely right. No,
You're-
these
you're-
people are Bible Belt Baptists, and
Oh,
They-
golly gosh, gee whiz, gorsh.
Yeah,
You weren't
yeah.
changing out them tapes now, were
you can't even say "gosh" because that's a substitute for taking the Lord's name in vain. So,
Then if you say N-word, I guess you're in trouble too.
yeah, it depends which
Nicene?
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, I find the whole
I got that.
I find the
I knew you
whole
would.
like N-word thing to be really stupid because you're saying something in code, which if there's somebody around who should be offended, they know what word you're referring to. The word is
Yeah.
forming in their mind.
Yes.
Right.
The fact that it hasn't passed your lips doesn't change anything.
No, that's
the
a social
offense should
symbol.
be-
That's
should be
just a
equal.
social symbol.
Yeah.
It's a
There-
social symbol that
there's a-
really is.
There's a Louis C.K. bit about that where he's just like, "You're just making me say it in my own head."
Yes.
I think all that it really does is just says, look, I'm one of the good people. I'm sensitive to your issue. So instead of reminding you of this thing, which you say is really offensive, I'm just going to, play charades, basically.
Camels knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But did you want to talk about this Roe v. Wade thing more, or do you want to move on to the next thing?
Well, Roe v. Wade is sub law. It's not like the Supreme Court's going to reverse it or anything, right?
Well, you remember we've had this conversation.
That's stare decisis.
Yeah, settled law. Well, remember we've had this conversation about the red wave that's going to happen, and I keep saying there's always a way that the Republicans can manage to lose.
Mhm.
Yep.
I have some data, so it isn't just me with an opinion. If you want to bring this up,
Absolutely.
If you don't mind me interjecting before we fully change,
sure.
I have been watching the new season of Law and Order because I, much like other sequels, felt it was going to be good, and it has been nonstop garbage throughout the season so far.
I actually watched a thing that was terrible too. We can compare notes, I think, on how it was a Netflix thing. But go on.
Well, it gets to they have Anthony Anderson coming back as one of the detectives, which he did okay in his stint beforehand. They have Jeffrey Donovan from Burn Notice as his partner, and they had a couple of new folks that I don't recognize from shit. And I think the major draw is the fact that you have Sam Waterston as the DA still. And so, like, that's really the only thing I look forward to every episode is just the 5 seconds of Sam Waterston.
Yeah, the way I used to when it was Fred Dalton Thompson playing the DA.
Have you ever noticed that Watterson looks like the bald eagle from the Muppets?
He does. He absolutely does because of the shape of his head.
Yeah,
he does.
Same
But
profile.
anyway, what you got here, Harry?
I have
Bonnie, were you through?
I'm
almost.
sorry.
We're almost there.
Well, actually, a couple. I think it's the last week or the week before. They get one of the DAs talking about, quote unquote, the murders of the January 6th insurrection, which I'm just like, I stopped halfway through the episode and I'm just like, I'm going to soak this for a bit. Like, we're not watching a damn thing for like 5 minutes. Like, I am so fucking sick of that shit. Who did I say? No, That was Jeffrey Donovan. Anyway, but no, I stopped and I'm like, it wasn't like there was one person who was killed because of the incident in question.
Yes. Other people died. Other people died, but there was one person who was killed.
Yeah.
Well, what about all the Congress people who were killed by the marauding raiders?
I know. It was just a bloodbath, wasn't it?
What about the dreams of all the underrepresented people who won't go into government now because they're afraid?
Yes. And the death of those dreams.
The death of those dreams.
Murder?
That's the real cost.
Real murder. Yes, that's the real cost. The death of
dreams. And this last episode they had they brought up white people using the N-word. And
because that happens all the time.
Well, Jeffrey Donovan's character brings up, the white people singing a rap song. And Anthony Anderson claps back with, "No white person should ever say that word." And to a degree, I can understand, but it's a fucking rap song.
Yeah, and also, identity politics. We've got vocabulary that's permissible for one group and not for another, but we aren't second-class citizens.
Save that shit for SVU like everyone else does.
Yeah, just really. No kidding.
You're not wrong.
How the mighty have fallen.
That is. I can't watch it anymore. It's just declined too much in quality.
Well, and I don't know what happened between season 20 and season 21, but holy shit. Like, whoever is writing 21 should be fired off a cliff. Like
Uh.
it's not even clever writing anymore. It's just like, here's my social commentary for the one part of the episode, and then it's just nothing. It's just procedural dump.
Oh God!
And
Now
Throw
we
the
know where
same
they
old
all.
shit up.
and because there's always it wasn't just like, I mean, sometimes it was just, this is what happens. The detectives do their thing. There's a racial thing, and they're kind of like, huh, I guess we're all the same after all. And then it was pretty much done like that. Now it's like, crime happens, white people bad, go back to the crime, like that, and then it just goes from there. And it's so sad.
It's propaganda. That's all it is. It's on that. Is it on NBC?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they've made their decisions.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
And like a sucker, I'm gonna keep watching.
See how bad it gets.
You're a well-trained consumer, Johnny.
Glad you're not a Doctor Who fan.
No, I stopped at let's see, what was his name?
Capaldi?
No, I didn't even make it to Capaldi.
Oh. Well, see, you got out while the getting was good.
No, I even saw the thing, because they were talking about, when they brought up the first woman doctor. I'm like, okay, because I'm like, it's not like they haven't mentioned it, like being a possibility. And then it just was like, oh, it's amazing, and I'm like, no, it's not.
It would have been fine, if they had just done it and not made such a big deal over it. And if they'd also found somebody who could, I don't know, speak intelligibly. But they didn't. They had to make a big deal out of, see what we're doing? See what we're doing? And people, otherwise people probably would have been like, huh, yeah, well, I do remember, especially for the nerds, they'd be able to cite you chapter and verse about when somebody mentioned female doctors or this, that, or the other.
Mm.
And they just roll with it. But no, it has to be blared from the parapets for months in advance.
There's absolutely no question that you get it.
Yes, because you might be too stupid to realize that she's female.
Exactly.
It's like, fuck, nobody. It's just
I
nuts.
know.
That was
Hammond Bean says, I quit after the first season of Capaldi. It's a shame. He's such a great actor, and he is.
Exactly.
He was given a soup sandwich. Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good comment.
I stopped after Tenet.
Doctor Who broke my heart.
Stephen Moffat was an idiot. Chris Chibnall's a bigger idiot. But anyway, I was just saying, in terms of shows having bad writing, it's pretty hard to beat Doctor Who. Because not only was it poorly written, but they decided to just erase almost all of the preceding canon and replace it with woke BS.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't enough just to make a shitty show. They had to actually take a huge steaming dump on the entire series.
Well, hey, if it's good enough for the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Or
it wasn't even retcon. It was complete truncation.
Yeah.
In some of the things. Anyway. And it turned into an abortion. And speaking of abortion,
yeah, graceful segue.
So
thank you.
This is the Pew Research graph on public opinion on abortion in the U.S. So if you go back to 1995, 60% of all people said it should be, basically legal in all or most cases, right? And it's gone down as low as 47% in 2009, but has been basically above the 50% mark consistently, and it's up to 59% now, right?
Yep.
And the line of people who think that it should be illegal in all or most cases, it is almost always significantly below 50%. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we've got the Democrats and the progressives in particular trying to destroy our economy, get us into a war with a nuclear superpower, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are a lot of things that they're doing that are just terrible, right?
Obnoxious.
So the Republicans have a chance to actually accomplish something. And so what did they decide to do? They not only have been pushing this for a while, this is a long-term project, right? The leak, of course, was politically advantageous, and Jonathan Turley was not shy about what he thought about the leaking.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is the real crime. But
I agree with him, by the way.
The tone that Ben Shapiro is taking, and Steven Crowder, and a lot of other people, the incessant nipple chafing that must be taking place is, to anybody who's not part of that clique, going to look really bad. Because it isn't just, we're going to take this thing and try to force this position on people that a majority of people don't agree with, right? But we're going to get really, really excited about it. And if anybody challenges it, we're going to be kind of sanctimonious. And that's all I've been hearing all day. Now, I get that for some people, if you think that stuff starts at conception, that's totally understandable. And I'm not in favor of third trimester abortion. And I mean, I'm totally there with you. I'm trying to look at this as an analyst, right?
Yeah.
The Republicans could be a new kind of Republican that appeals to the right, gathers support from the middle, and focuses on things that are important, like the economy and civil rights and things like that. But instead, they've reduced themselves to what looks like, to the other side, kind of religious zealots who are single issue when it comes to this sort of stuff. I mean, in reality, I've had this conversation with a few people now. In reality, it's not going to be that bad even if they did overturn Roe, because people will still be able to go to other states, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think this idea that they're going to...
How many states have the political will to completely ban abortion, et cetera, et cetera?
Well,
a few of them do.
Oklahoma did basically tonight. I mean, that law is just crazy.
Okay, that's Oklahoma. It's 1 out of 50.
Well, they're talking about they're going to, some of these people on the news were saying that some of these states were going to enact laws that would prosecute you if you went to another state and had an abortion.
Well, Texas had some people that were advocating for just that.
Good, they can advocate all they want.
There's another amendment in the Constitution that prevents that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So what's happened is the nipple rubbing is audible on the right, and the shrieking from people like Elizabeth Warren is audible from the left. So you're going into a voting booth, and you have to decide: do I really want these people on the right, or do I really want these people on the left? As a centrist. Because the people who decide the election are the people in the middle, not the people on the two extremes. Right. The Republicans stand a very good chance of not having a red wave as of right now, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I think this thing took some of the potentially could have muddied the water enough and could have taken a little bit of the momentum out of it. I still think there was just so much momentum against this, plus the country is just getting a little, they seem to be getting a little bit looking at the woke stuff with a bit of a jaundiced eye. More and more people seem to be finding their courage and speaking up against this, and it's almost like the country's getting a little smarter.
Yeah,
I'm hopeful that that trend will continue, but I do agree that the right has made a caricature of itself over this.
Well, there's a silver lining, and then there's another poison pill waiting for us. So the silver lining is, if something like this were to come to pass, becomes decided on state basis, you're going to see more people more of the kind of people who are going to vote incorrectly, in air quotes, Skep, are going to choose not to move to your state. It actually will tend to polarize the divide between the states more.
Yes,
which of course is a bad thing, because as it stands right now, the union is just getting more and more fragmented, and the voices on both sides are getting louder and louder and louder. And I understand that this is a moral issue for people. That's fine. If people want to make moral choices for themselves, they absolutely can and should do that. The people in your congregation, if they commit a sin, it is your job to police people in your own congregation. I totally understand that. It's just that trying to push this forward makes us run the risk of, I don't know, nuclear war, economic collapse. There are more issues in this world than just this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Libertarian conventions ought to be entertaining as hell this year.
Because they're so useful, the libertarians.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Karlin Borisenko, spent most of the day in absolute shriek lunacy mode, which is not strange for her because that's the milieu out of which she came. So she falls back into it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And drawing hyperbolic comparisons, those kinds of things. Because
what kinds of things was she saying?
Oh, that this is the same to a group of people as overturning the Second Amendment.
So she's making ham-fisted analogies that.
Oh God, awful analogies. But she's a child of the left, remember? So
her favorite fist is ham.
Yes. Yeah, you're not kidding. You're not.
She's not subtle.
She's not subtle, and she's also very inconsistent. Which is par for the course. She's new to this game of thinking for herself.
Yeah.
And she's not covering herself in glory. She was very well trained in leftist speak, and she still employs it. Yeah. But the yes and no, because I've always been a little concerned about public polling on certain matters, especially hot button issues. Pew, I'm not impugning Pew, because as far as people who aggregate data, they're very, very good at it. And they tend to be pretty fastidious in their methods. I just, I don't know, because we're a long way away from November. We don't even know what the actual decision is. I mean, I understand what the motivation of the leak was. It was to create this instability and provide the Democrats with a really easy issue to shriek about. Not that they seem to really need much teeing up for that. And the commentariat in the Republican wing is nipple chafing. You're right, Harry. It's the politicians that I'm watching to see if they have any deftness at all in their ability to maneuver this. Looking at Oklahoma, the answer would be no, but that's Oklahoma.
Even the dogs are outraged.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody take a drink.
Damn it. Lemon water just doesn't float my boat tonight. Do you ever wonder whether people tell pollsters what they think they're supposed to say?
Depends on the pollsters and how the polls are taken. Again, I think the Pew stuff is the most accurate thing that we have in terms of social sorts of stuff. I'm through presenting, Skep, unless you want to go through more of this data.
Yeah, I was looking at Rasmussen stuff and looking at the gap between people who are pro-choice and those who are pro-life seems to be, depending on who you talk to, between 5 and about 8 percentage points different, with more people being pro-choice than pro-life, believe it or not. You know, same thing that what Harry was showing us.
And are they using likely voter as a standard? Because that,
yeah, probably.
In this case,
no,
it's all
yeah,
adults.
LV, yeah, likely voter. So anyway, the country basically slightly wants to let women do whatever they want to do. I mean, basically wants to be out of the abort. You know, that's the way I read pro-choice. If someone says that, you know, I am pro-choice, they basically want the government out of the picture and have this decision made between a woman and her doctor. The pro-life people want to come in and say, no, you know, that baby inside you is effectively a citizen of the United States and is imbued with the same natural rights as any other citizen. And all of this boils down to, when do the clump of cells become a citizen? When does that little citizen pop into existence? That to me is the whole debate.
yeah, and
And I read Peter Singer's book. You know, I know about the, you know,
yeah.
postnatal abortions and all that stuff. He at least is consistent in his reasoning.
Well, yes, he's a eugenicist, so he ought to be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You know, he's a monster.
Yeah, I mean, he's utterly.
But he's a consistent one.
But you know where he stands.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure do. And I want to be geographically as far from him as possible. I'm afraid I'd get fleas.
Can you imagine just deciding at 5 years old that child is going to, I'm going to euthanize little Lincoln because he's just not coming out the way we want him to.
Yeah.
Obsolete.
Wasn't that
Yes.
wasn't that a Roman principle? Was it Pater Familias or something? That where the basic
Pater Familias was the great father, the loving father.
I thought that the father could even, you know, basically kill or honor kill the kids or anybody in the family, had absolute authority.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not advocating minions at the zoo. I just wanted to make sure I didn't get prima noctum and paterfamilias.
It's like India today.
Tonight is brought to you by
or Pakistan.
Latin.
Yeah, or Pakistan.
Stare decisis.
Yeah, it's sorry that. Well, yeah, you trying to point that out to Anna Navarro was a fool's errand, so I didn't bother.
There's no point in engaging with somebody like that.
Well, I mean, people are convinced that this is going to cause Obergefell to be overturned, you know, and it's like, Obergefell's not going to be overturned. Calm your tits.
No.
It's.
But this will overturn Casey in addition to Roe, because since Casey was a modification of Roe, the underlying opinion is going to go away. And when you know what Casey did was it said that, okay, we're not going to use the Roe trimester framework anymore, and we're going to do the viability thing. So they put viability into it, but they also, you know, replaced the strict scrutiny piece, the review standard of strict scrutiny that was demanded by Roe, and they replaced it with something where restricting abortions would be unconstitutional if those restrictions were offered for, quote, the purpose or effect of placing a substantial obstacle in the path of a woman seeking an abortion of a non-viable fetus. And in applying that new standard, the court upheld, you know, most of the Pennsylvania law that was in question, but invalidated the requirement of spousal notification.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing about it was that that was didn't Kennedy defect Prospero on Casey? Is that the one where Kennedy was expected to vote one way and he voted the other? I think he ended up. I think that's.
Yeah, because I know he had plural opinions.
Yeah, I'm just going through it. Let's see. At the Conference of the Justices, 2 days after oral argument, Justice David Souter defied expectations, joining Sandra Day O'Connor, John Paul Stevens, Harry Blackman, who had all dissented 3 years earlier, and Webster.
Yeah, and so did Kennedy. Kennedy was on the majority.
Right. And then this, this resulted in precarious 5-justice majority consisting of Chief Justice Rehnquist, Byron White, Antonin Scalia, Anthony Kennedy, so he did go over, and Clarence Thomas that favored upholding all 5 contested abortion restrictions. However, Justice Kennedy changed his mind shortly thereafter and joined with fellow Reagan-Bush justices Sandra Day O'Connor and David Souter to write the plurality opinion that not only reaffirmed Roe, but that's where the language about reaffirmed a woman's right to an abortion came from. That's what spawned that. So their plurality opinion. So that means that this is gone. Roe is gone, and the states probably are scrambling to figure out where they want to stand on this, which is, to this libertarian, the way it should be.
Well, yeah, it should have been. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Places like California are going to have, you can have an abortion. We'll even birth the baby for you and abort him after.
Oh, they're going to bring. I mean, they've already said that
they're going to go.
People from out of state can come, and the state of California will pay for it.
Because Gavin Newsom.
Oh, we're going to pay for it. Awesome.
Yes, you're going to pay for it.
Nice.
Did you hear what Gavin Newsom said? He said this is going to be a sanctuary state for women seeking an abortion.
Cool.
That's great. Now, is there a term limit on that? Gavin asking.
Got pregnant, and then I went to Disneyland. Woo-hoo.
Asking.
All you got was that lousy shirt.
I want to know if this applies to post-birth abortion, Gavin. We're just asking for some friends.
I think the post-birth abortion thing. I know that they've people who've definitely posited that as a possible thing, but I think that's, I don't know. I think it's kind of straw manning. That's not
Sacramento has somebody floating.
I know there's always an idiot saying something, but I honestly think that is not. I don't know. I think it's straw manning, honestly.
Well,
I know that it does exist in 1 or 2 places.
I don't think it's straw manning so much as they're floating that to bring the right out in full throat, screaming lunacy, and then they can point to the right. I mean,
it's definitely waving the cape in front of the bull.
Yeah.
I can tell you what the right should do. I mean, in terms of electoral politics, I can tell you the right course for the right is to go after late-term abortions, and to try as much as possible, but they need to make one thing absolutely clear, that under all circumstances, the life of the mother is paramount, because the attack that they're going to use is that the Republicans don't care about the life of the mother.
Oh, yeah, that was a lot of the rhetoric.
That's going to be it. So they need to get out in front of that, and they need to try to appear more reasonable. And I know if this is a big moral thing for you and life begins at conception, I'm just pissing people off and you think less of me now. I'm sorry. I'm just talking about how to actually win the election.
Well, as Skep has said, Aunt Susie is here sitting across the table from you, a living, breathing human being.
Yeah.
Aunt Susie is going to die if you make her carry that baby to term.
Yeah, we need to get out in front of that.
You're executing Aunt Susie then. You've got to be honest that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, we need to make it clear that that's the position. And then we need to try not to make it be the cornerstone of the platform. It needs to be part of the platform, but not even first or second. The most important things are national security and the economy.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo.
And you can decide which of those two is more important to you because you need both of them.
Yeah, well, they certainly aren't important to Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, and as you gently move the Overton window a little bit, with dealing with the late term thing, as long as there's no risk to the outlawing unless there's risk to the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean physical risk, not necessarily just mental risk like some of these bills have talked about.
Yeah.
It would get people to stop treating it as an unlimited right, this ridiculous thing that, like you said, the red cape that they're trying to wave.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans could win, but they need to not act like the same old Republicans that they've always been, that people have already proven they don't like all that much.
You can't change their nature, though. You can wish they would, but they are who they are.
Unless they get better primary challengers, because some of the new ones have been pretty good. How's your governor and your lieutenant governor looking on this issue? Have they said anything, Prospero?
Not to my knowledge. I'm a little anxious about it, but not overly anxious. The Republicans in this state, at least more recently, have not. This isn't as Bible thumpy a state as farther south. The political realities being what they are. And Ken Cuccinelli was defeated basically on he doesn't care about the lives of women because he was a very strong pro-life candidate.
Yep.
And of course he was misrepresented naturally. But yeah, they do keep walking into the same trap because they don't realize that they can lure the people who vote for Joe Manchin. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They did it with Youngkin because of the whole business with CRT in the schools and the insane narrative coming from some of the progs regarding who had ultimate authority over children. Where basically you've had some school boards all but say, I don't care that they're your children. You don't have any say in this matter.
Yeah. At what point do the mother's parental rights kick in? It's
yes.
If you look at the pro-life people, they're probably in most other cases not big on the government being the one that decides.
Correct.
But they're going to make an exception for this one.
Yeah, there is a great amount of inconsistency. It's just like the vaccine mandate people are suddenly screeching about bodily autonomy. And it's like, wait a second.
They just want to do what they want to do.
When they want to do it.
Moment. When they want to do it. They don't want to follow principles. They don't want to follow rules. They don't want it to be consistent either intellectually or just.
Well, then they can join the Libertarian Party because they seem to have turned into the crackpots that need to rename themselves the Libertine Party. If you know what I'm saying. It is a tragedy that this is what's happened to libertarianism in this country. But it is certainly...
Well, it's always been that way with libertarians. They've always been insane.
Well, yeah, but...
I mean, I say this as a libertarian. I'm one who has libertarian instincts and tendencies.
Make John Stewart more great again.
Yeah, exactly. I'm that kind of libertarian. I'm not the kind who wants to, let people raise armies and own the roads. And
you take the NAP to the ridiculous, and it's because, good God, people
anarcho-capitalism. Fuck right off.
Yeah, idiots.
Non-aggression principle, man. It'll be fine.
I get so tired of those people, and they're the first ones who'll take a swing at you if you piss them off. Right. I mean, they're children. They're children LARPing as adults, and it's very annoying. It's a bunch of navel-gazing Unitarians politically. You know what I mean? They don't have any fucking principles anymore. And
Well,
they can't even define themselves.
I think navel gazing Unitarian may be redundant.
Yes, it is.
I heard Johnny.
I was gonna say there is also the crowd of why are men making decisions about women's bodies,
Oh my God.
and I'm like, and you voted for which one of these men that are making those decisions? And on top of that, it's just like, okay, if you don't like it, vote for the one you want. If you don't like the one that we got, run your damn self.
I think this nonsense about complaining about the makeup of the court. For Christ's sake, there are 4 female justices.
Well, there are 4 right now. There might be 8 soon.
Well,
and
That's what I'm
this-
trying to prevent.
And this
Yeah.
goes with like all elected officials, whether they be the Supreme Court or
Yes.
Congressman. I mean, for fuck's sake, that's how we got AOC and then her counterpart, Boebert.
Well, the other thing is they were perfectly fine with the batch of men that decided Roe. Because I hate to tell you, there weren't any women on that SCOTUS.
None of the extremists are being consistent.
No, none
No.
of them are.
All of the talk about free speech and rights and how religious the progressives are and how it's a cult and all this sort of stuff. Now we're seeing that the people on the right are, in some cases, just as zealous, just as bad at virtue signaling. They're just doing it over a different issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are a lot of actually good comments. Like, was it Lava Junkie was saying, we just need to define when life begins. And I've already said what my definition is. We just take the, definition for brain death and we just flip it on its head, which gets you to about 21 weeks. So if you need organized brain function to be a living human being, functioning living human being, that's the number. Science can do that for you.
Yep.
But if you're talking to somebody who thinks that it begins at conception because of a holy spark, then there's nothing you can say or do that's going to change that person's mind. However, the question then becomes, if you're a deeply religious person, how does that translate to your involvement in a secular society? Because I would hope that it would be they just look down on the people who make this mistake, and they know that they basically are going to have to answer to God for being wrong. And that's where these things get sorted out. But they want to take the divine judgment and move it into the earthly frame and use government authority to enforce their religious view
So
on when life begins.
In other words, you want to remind them of of the warning from Jesus himself about render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, render under God that which is God's. This government is not, it was not writ by the divine. Our government was writ by the founders. Where they stood on the matter of the divine is highly debatable. Take it up with historians. But civic matters are separate from church matters. They can coexist. They can inform your personal morality, voting decisions, choices where you live, etc., etc., etc. That's fine. That's what individualism is about. That's why we want people to have the freedom to express their religion in that way. They do not have the right to impose that religion on anyone else. Consider yourself under the same restrictions that the government is in the First Amendment. Just it's a wise way of let it inform you, because after all, that is kind of what free will is.
It is a bitch.
What it is. It's what you make of your own relationship with your God. Yeah. And it is not you can sit on a civil jury and adjudge someone guilty or innocent, and they are punished civilly. We don't hand them over to God. Well, we do, metaphorically speaking.
Now,
But
in civil procedure, you're not punished. In civil procedure, you may
well,
have
criminal.
to pay.
I meant civil, as opposed to religious court. In civic procedures.
Okay.
I don't
not tort law.
I wasn't doing tort.
Yeah, I
versus
went right to
criminal.
tort. Yeah, tort law. Right. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm back.
Talking
No,
about
I had to think about it too.
I know it's difficult to express the difference without using a term that can then be misinterpreted. Civic responsibility. And if you feel it is your civic responsibility to campaign for this country to become a theocracy, you're welcome to do so. You also are welcome to listen to me mock you roundly. Our founders made provisions against that, quite particularly. They're found in the First Amendment. You know that number one thing that's attached to the Constitution that Joy Reid couldn't find.
Joy Reid finds the First Amendment overbroad, I'm afraid.
Yes, I'm sure she does.
Well, it includes hate speech.
I find her overbroad.
You know, the greatest thing that's ever been said about free speech is when someone you don't like says something you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
That's free speech. That is free speech. That is the essence of free speech.
Yeah. And you can say, I don't like that. But you should not, if you consider yourself a person who wants to live by the Constitution in your own personal application, you should never advocate for them to be silenced. Because you ain't going to like it when somebody silences you.
You know, that's the thing. They always make Robespierre's mistake.
Yeah.
The people who lead the revolution don't stay in charge, because managing a country is different than running a revolution. In fact, it's kind of the opposite.
Yes.
That's why they don't stay in power.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep, it's kind of interesting because it was the American Revolution is particularly unique. It's why it is a poor example in many ways of a revolution.
People think that the American Revolution and the French Revolution have all these parallels, and they do have some parallels.
Yeah.
But there were some very fundamental differences about the makeup of the people who were fomenting the revolution. In France, it was a bunch of ragtag people who were just sick of starving, essentially, and some opportunistic politicians to lead them. In America, this was something that was considered profound philosophical thought, and they, about whether or not they were going to break away from Britain, and they finally reluctantly concluded that they had been just fucked too badly one last time, and they were going to break away, and they declared it in a beautiful letter that they wrote to King George.
That's full of regret.
And then they left. Yeah, it's full of regret. It absolutely is.
The letter is a very mournful letter. It's the tone of it is one of regret. These individuals considered themselves loyal
Englishmen,
British citizens until the moment they signed that letter, when they knew that they were pledging
their lives to honor and sacred fortune.
Their sacred fortune. Their sacred, yeah. To severing themselves.
Right. They would have called it dissevering.
I think had Britain said, fine, you're severed, they would have breathed the most grateful sigh of relief and said thank you. But that was not the choices that were made. You must comply. You must obey. You know, the colonies.
If that had happened, there would have been a counter movement in that time, I believe, to rejoin
Yes,
Great Britain.
there would have been.
And the benefit of the Revolutionary War was that it alienated the colonies from England, from Great Britain, and after that misery and all that death and destruction, they just said, no, we fought for this. Fuck you. We're on our own.
Yeah.
And when the British came back over and offered us a second helping in the early 19th century, we said, no, ixnay.
See ya.
Yeah.
You can burn a building, but get the fuck off our property.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and an awful lot of British soldiers were killed for no good reason.
Right. That was an absolute waste of humans.
Well, you know, I hang that on.
Sorry about that. I was just trying to show this painting.
There you go.
Washington crossing the Delaware. I forgot I was still presenting.
Somehow or another, that's racist.
Yeah, because you know there are probably people that believe that they made like black people do all the rowing or something.
Absolutely,
they got out and pulled the boat.
That's it.
They weren't
built
actually
the boat.
rowing.
They're on the other side. They're on the others. They conceptualized the boat in their truth.
Yeah, this is a thing that I actually forgot to cover on Saturday, which is rare Washington crossing the Delaware painting that hung in the White House for more than 40 years will be auctioned off and is expected to sell for $20 million. This is a huge
for more
painting.
than that.
It's 12.4 by 21.25 feet. This thing is not going to sell for $20 million.
No, it's going to sell for a lot more than that.
It's going to sell for so much more than that because what that number is not what it's worth. It's what the craziest rich bastard in the world is willing to pay for it.
Boy, you got that right.
And think about it, though, because you could be some terrible human being with a bunch of money, and you can wrap yourself in the mystique of America and the American dream and the American Revolution simply by buying this thing. Think about all the gravitas you basically get to just buy with something like this and how the right kind of sociopath can spin it.
That thing belongs in a museum.
It'd be kind of fun if Elon bought it. Just only because it would just chat people's asses. One thing I'll say is at least they're using good art for their money laundering now.
It is really good art.
Elon would have his face drawn in.
He would
George
not.
Washington.
He would
not.
not.
That's what Trump would do. That's what Trump would do.
Absolutely. Unfortunately.
To make the Beth boat.
Yeah.
Biden would be behind there. Biden would be behind Washington sniffing.
You smell like ham. My
Your wig
favorite
smells
color.
nice. Your wig smells nice.
Yeah. The thing is, if I had a place where I could display collected art, like planning to bequeath it as a, like the Elizabeth Stewart Gardner Museum or something like that, I would be all over wanting this.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it would hang in my private study until I died, and then it could go in the main gallery. It would be like, no. Only people who are worthy can come in and look at this. But just because it's such an iconic moment in the revolution, and it really is.
I like to think that Washington would have had better small craft discipline than to stand up in the bow like that.
Yes, I imagine you're correct. As with the flag bearer,
it's not very sporting to basically, what was it, attacking on Christmas Eve or the dark of night. I mean, it was really not very sporting.
It was Christmas morning, and they'd gone and gotten themselves drunk the night before, and so a bunch of hungover Hessians were stuck with knock knock. Who's there?
Ham.
Yeah. Oh, I like ham. Bang. Yeah. Christmas really wasn't celebrated the same way in those days either.
But that was after the defeat in New York.
Yes, it
I mean,
was.
that really was the turn of the tide right there.
Yes, it was. It was a brilliant idea. It was Christmas Eve, and you had a bunch of mercenaries who were going yeehaw, and you could hear them across the Delaware, and because the river's wide but not that wide, and it's like, well, this is it, and it was basically a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary. Because they were outside of Trenton, which meant they were not far from Philadelphia.
Well, they were crossing in the dark on December 25th. This was not an easy crossing.
Oh, do you know how dark it was back then when it was nighttime?
Like a lot darker than it is now.
Well, they would have had their night vision just pegged.
Yeah.
You can see really well if you're dark adapted, if there's any moonlight, for instance.
Yeah. Or you can actually see by starlight. Back then, you would have been able to see by starlight. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Well, you still can in the right parts of the world.
I do
amateur astronomy stuff. So
yeah, if I go to Fairplay, Colorado, at 10,000 feet, and it's a fairly rural part of Colorado. There aren't many lights out there. The stars are so bright, I can see a shadow from them.
Yes.
I shit you not.
Yep. And you have that crystal clear air.
Yeah.
To boot.
And there's not much of it.
No.
there's only 70% as much.
So when you say the starfield rendered you breathless, it was just I looked at it and then I got dizzy.
Oh, let me tell you.
But it's that was a pretty gutsy move. Washington was a skilled military commander. He was also a highly intuitive man.
He learned the hard way from the Whiskey Rebellion days, and
he learned
fighting those Canadians.
Well, the Whiskey Rebellion comes after the Revolution, but
not the Whiskey Rebellion. What was the conflict that he solved before the Revolution? It was some kind of a conflict in Pennsylvania. It was his first big mission. What the hell am I thinking of, Prospero?
I thought he was involved in the French and Indian Wars.
He was.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, it was
the Indian Wars.
It was the 7 Years' War, depending on which continent you're talking about. Yeah, it was there, and he almost got killed. Major Washington.
Yeah, almost getting killed is really easy under the circumstances.
Bullet through the hat.
Hammond Beans is saying it was a cloudy night. They weren't seeing a damn thing. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, but there would have been campfires across the river. There would have been.
Yeah, which doesn't help you navigate the ice flow in the river.
No, but this is December.
But you do know where you're going. You have a vector.
It's a little early for ice flow in the Delaware.
It's in the picture. It's right there.
I know
Prospero.
it is. It was yes, I know. That means that means they're the fucking Titanic.
You think it's poetic license?
Yeah.
Picture didn't happen, Harry.
Just a tiny bit. That's a big damn water basin. And it's it's moving toward Delaware at that point. We had some particularly bad winters over the Revolution. There may have been ice forming in the Delaware, but it takes a lot to freeze a major estuary like that in December. Even a Maunder minimum might get around to doing it in January, but I don't know. I'd have to go. Yeah, I'd have to go read the actual accounts because, good God, what year was it again?
What, the 1753 was when George Washington went into the.
No, I mean the crossing of the Delaware.
Oh, the crossing.
Is it the same year as Valley Forge?
It's within a year of that.
Because Valley Forge was a Maunder minimum year.
Yeah, it was December 25th, 1776 was the night he crossed the Delaware.
So very early days in the war.
Yeah,
But-
relatively.
But the
It's been
battle
going on for
but the
several
Battle
years.
of Trenton was a big deal.
Yeah. He'd
Because
just
of the
been
loss
chased out of New York.
yeah.
They were regrouping, far away from where the
Well,
British
protect
were.
Philadelphia because you had to protect one of the major cities.
Because if he lost
Well,
Philadelphia, he was F.
They were done. They were done.
Yeah.
Losing New York was one thing.
Yeah, losing
Um,
Philadelphia would have absolutely put them out
They
of the
would-
game.
Yeah, they would have been in southern ports that were not built for the kind of the Potomac would have been undefendable.
Yeah.
I just love the wrap up of the war, the whole subterfuge that was used to bumfuzzle Cornwallis, and the fact that the poor sport, after getting trapped in Yorktown, wouldn't even surrender in person. Ill-tempered little shitbag.
So are they selling this to help curb the national debt?
Well, I don't know. I thought they were going to move Hunter's art for that.
$20 million will run the Department of Health and Human Services for almost an hour.
hmm
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
We wouldn't want Rachel Levine's pantyhose in a knot now, would we?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Since something else is already knotted up in there. Good God. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, it was a day.
Yeah.
It sure was a chafed nipple people losing their voice from screaming
Lots of ham.
day. Lots
Lots
of
of
ham.
ham.
Yeah.
Lots of ham. We now have the new euphemism for tartary.
When people are acting like the R word.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Now we can say that window tastes like ham.
Yes. Yep.
Man, HHS is going to spend $1.8 trillion in
Awesome.
2023. That's its budget.
On what?
Ham.
Well,
Ham. Yeah.
it basically handing
Pork.
out money.
Yeah.
A lot of that is Social Security payment.
Ham is a pork product.
And Social Security, the money, that's just money coming off a printing press.
Yep.
There's nothing in back of that.
I would have really, really liked to have been steward of all those dollars I paid in as a working person.
Yeah. I hear you. I would like to have the.
I wouldn't be on
nerve-
this show. I love y'all, but I wouldn't be on this show. I'd probably just be getting ready to come back from Maui.
Yeah.
What you could have done with that in the 1980s, dear God, with those interest rates. Ha ha ha. Oh boy.
I'd be dining at Le Petit Auberge in Paris.
Yep. And then flying
And,
home, to
Absolutely.
it was
But
it was
anyway,
a lovely evening in Paris, great dinner. I'm back to Texas. See ya.
Buy some art.
Mm-hmm.
thing about it is though, Paris is really a pretty rainy place. Beautiful days in France are nice when they happen, but they don't happen that often, especially not in the northeastern part of France, which is kind of where Paris is. It's too close to Belgium to have nice weather.
Yeah, it's not Spain.
Right, exactly. They don't call it sunny Spain for nothing.
No, it's God, it's also a pretty dry country too. Parts of it are
Oh yeah, the southwestern part is
kind of
very dry.
scaryful.
I have some 1955 pictures from Paris that just
Oh,
happen to be
yeah.
handy. There's a woman with a goat.
That's what
I don't know why she has a goat, but she has a goat.
You know why? Because it's the greatest goat of all time. It's the goat.
There's never been a goat that's more of a goat than this goat.
It's a platonic ideal. Of
She named that goat Thomas Brady.
Paris in 1955 looks pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, that is exactly what it looked like when I was a kid.
Little cafe.
Just like
Here,
that.
look, you can get your picture taken while the crowd looks on. Or you can drive a ridiculous car.
That is a douche. That's a deux chevaux. That is a Citroen deux chevaux in the center, right there. It's
Okay.
How
How about this ridiculous car? There you go. That's
That-
France.
Are you
That
going to do
is-
the
no.
Morris stuff, though, please?
That is I believe that is a DAF. I believe that's a Finnish. It's a Finnish car.
Okay.
I think that's called a DAF. DAF.
Need to tweet it out and ask Iowa Hawk. He'll
Yeah,
know.
we need, but that's an awesome car.
Well,
Yeah, it looks really practical. But he gets up and moves too.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of Mr. Bean right now.
So, but at any rate,
At any rate,
Dramatic pause.
yes.
I
I know we're all just born.
Harry's pictures of Europe and those old cars. It just brings back such a flood of memories. It almost overwhelmed me. Okay, I'm back.
yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, it's easy to do that sort of thing. I'll do one more and then I'll shut up because
Mhm.
Johnny needs
No.
to talk.
I just did an image search for the car.
Yeah.
It just says antique car.
This is the view from one of my favorite restaurants. This is
bastard.
Skates on the Bay in Emeryville.
I was gonna say
It's tragic.
Wait a minute. Let me see.
There's the
He
bridge.
Skep's getting his bearings. There's the Golden
Yep.
Gate.
I know. That's the Golden Gate. This is in Emeryville.
Technically, just south of Berkeley, on the water.
What? Yeah, I know. Skates. This is this down there by that giant bookstore? Remember where the B. Dalton and the Waterfront Inn and all that stuff in Oakland? Or is
No, this is further
up. This is
further out.
farther up by the Holiday Inn, that old Holiday Inn up there. It's not anymore. I know where this
Figure a
is.
Navy man would know where all the hotels.
It's gonna take a lot more to get me out of California. I gotta say.
Yeah.
Trader Vic's is there too. There's a lot of good stuff in California. I have to remind myself of this because of how miserable everything else is.
All right.
We
I
have
found it.
Walmart down here. It's just as good as Trader Vic's.
What'd you find, Johnny?
Messerschmitt cabin and roller. Cabin and roller.
Cabin unroller. Just one of those lovely German compound words.
Found. I typed it in the chat.
Yeah, it is. It is a Messerschmitt. It is. I've got it. Yep. It is called a KR200. Messerschmitt KR200. I was wrong. It looks like a DAF, but it's not. DAF made a car like that. Made a car that looked like that. Three-wheel bubble car designed by the aircraft engineer Fritz Fend and produced in the factory of German aircraft manufacturer Messerschmitt from 1955 until 1964. Okay. And you could get it in a one-door coupe, a one-door convertible, or a one-door roadster. It was mid-engine, so that engine's in the back of the driver. And that's
Well, we're
what it's
looking at the
called, a
bay right now, so yeah.
cabin and roller. Anyway, I just wanted to point out it had a 191cc two-stroke single-cylinder operable in both directions of crankshaft rotation.
Two-stroke?
Yeah.
That's great. You stop it. Bam!
And here's
Fritz
just one
is
more
alive.
picture. 1960s out on the waterfront looking out on Alcatraz. Look at how clean everything is. You don't
Oh my
see any
God.
tents. You don't see hypodermic needles. You don't see junkies.
Where's the human excrement?
Yeah, I know. It's like, where is it?
They're in office.
Yeah, how is this possible that this is what San Francisco used to look like? Look how clean that
Chinatown.
is. Yeah,
I know where that is. I know exactly where that is.
it's a great. It used to be a great city. It makes me
I
really
love
sad
the
to look
town.
at this.
I loved living in San Francisco. I at the time that I lived there,
Okay,
70.
you should make me
75,
stop.
76.
Have me not be sharing so that I stop doing this.
No, I'm enjoying this.
It's a
I
blessed
don't go back
relief
there.
area for today on Twitter.
That's the hill that the Stinking Rose is on.
Hmm.
Harry knows that restaurant, I bet.
I know of it.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a great city, though. Or it was.
It's my house.
You know, did you hear that? What is it? San Francisco has roughly 1 million people in it, or it did. It lost 100,000 residents over the last couple of years.
Not
Has
surprised.
it really?
100,000 people have moved out of San Francisco in the last couple of years.
Well, the cost of living is just onerous.
The cost of living was onerous before. That's not what did it.
Yeah, but it
Because there's all these people that are
gross.
here chasing a dream, living five to a small apartment, working
Yeah.
in startups.
Exactly.
The startup environment south of Market Street is amazing. I had a customer that was out there, and they had the whole building was in this commercial garage that had been retrofitted into office space. It was like when you imagine the painfully cool hipster office place, this was like that, but more. It was amazing.
Below Market was the Tenderloin.
Oh, the
I guess they
Tenderloin is part of it.
Gentrified that.
No. The Tenderloin still exists, and it sucks.
Okay.
It's as bad as ever. But south of Market
All right.
is like the area. I'm talking about the area that's over closer to Pac Bell Park or whatever the hell they're calling
Okay.
it now.
You're talking about over toward the water.
Yes, but south of
Yeah.
Market Street.
Yep.
So
I know.
over by where the train station is,
Yeah,
that kind of
I was
thing.
talking about more uptown. It gets Tenderloin real fast.
Oh yeah. I've had some pretty good days. I once took the train. I took my bike, and I got on the train and went up to San Francisco, and then ended up riding my bike through the city, across the Golden Gate, into Sausalito, then
That's
Mill
awesome.
Valley, and then I had lunch at Joe's Taco Lounge, and then went back to Sausalito, got on a
yeah.
ferry, came back to San Francisco, took the train home. That was like a whole day. Oh God, that was a good day.
Oh man, I would do that in a second.
Yeah, good times.
I do love that town. I just looking at these pictures, I'm just having like a sentimental rush of memories. I ran the Beta Breakers there. That was just an amazing race. We stayed at the BOQ at the Presidio. How awesome is that? And our admiral got us rooms at the BOQ because the Beta Breakers, the whole city just goes insane for a day, and 80,000 runners show up and run in this race. It was still a small race when I was there. There weren't 25,000 people in it, I bet.
Well,
the day
by the
that I
time
ran it. But that was 1977.
Well, by the time you got into the late 70s and the 80s,
Mhm.
KGO Radio and KGO TV would cover the race, and it was just like this
Absolutely.
huge carnival atmosphere. Because
Absolutely.
it almost doesn't really matter who wins. It's just the fact that it's just this huge event. It's like, let's just
All the-
close San Francisco down while
Everybody
Skep
wore
runs.
Everybody wore funny hats and or not everybody, but lots of people wore funny costumes and things like that. There's just a lot to see, and it's about if memory serves, it's like a 7.5 or 8 mile race through the city. Basically, starts down at the docks on the bay side, and then you go up the Hayes Street Hill and run all the way to I got to get my race because I ran the Dipsy Trail too. That one ends in Stinson Beach. This one ends up at just over by the Cliff House.
Mm-hmm. Cliff House is gone.
Is it?
Yeah, it went out of
That makes me
business. It
sad.
couldn't handle could not handle the pandemic.
Wow,
It's a victim
that
of
makes
the-
me so sad.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Many times.
Hammond Beans is saying San Diego is greater than San Francisco. I think you could make an argument for that. San Diego is a fantastic town. I love San Diego. San Diego is really, really lovely. I think that San Diego is probably nicer than San Francisco now.
It has better weather.
Well, it has. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of weather you like.
Warmer weather, I should say. Okay.
I'm a humid artichoke. I like fog. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But San Diego is a beautiful town.
Yeah.
It does have a disturbingly large number of strip clubs per capita, but it is a really nice town.
Well, Coronado.
Yeah.
It also has some huge young training commands down there of virile young men who have needs, Harry.
I know. Did you ever see CPO Sharky? Wasn't that supposed to have taken place in San Diego?
Yeah, that was in San Diego. Sure was.
Man, it's just like, hey, that must have been a pitch meeting. We're going to have Don Rickles pretend to be a chief petty officer who trains new sailors. It's going to be great.
Right. That was at the old 30th Street base in San Diego. I did a lot of temporary duty down there. When you're a newly minted ensign, you get sent to a lot of short duration schools because you get all these collateral duties. Like, you report aboard and you have all your regular duties, being a supply officer and, paying the crew and doing all the stuff. But then you have all these other duties piled on, like becoming the public affairs officer, the cryptography officer, and this, commercial industrial officer, and blah, 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 all the crap duties they can stack on you. And you get sent to all these schools, and almost every one of them was in San Diego. One was in Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
And got to spend a pretty significant amount of time down in San Diego. And I love that place. I just love the warm weather, love the beaches. It's nice. But it's just hurts my heart, the degradation to the town of San Francisco that's happened. And this is not anybody's fault but the politicians in charge.
Yep. The road to hell, good intentions.
Yeah. And I really think most of the politicians there at least give lip service to doing good things. I actually think Gavin Newsom is so completely corrupt. He truly is an evil man. But I know there are other people out there who are, they're just trying to do their best, trying to, govern with and have a heart. And they become victims of people like Newsom.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a theory.
Yeah.
Newsom is pretty shit. He's kind of remarkable.
Harry, I'm going to unembiggen you so I will stop staring at the screen like
a besotted teenager.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go back there. I want it to be 1978 again.
Man, I've said before that if I had a time machine, I would use it only for the most frivolous purposes. Yeah. Everybody else is just like, I'm going to go kill Hitler. Do. It's like, no, I'm not. No. I think it's good that they had an incompetent leader. Because somebody was going to fill those shoes. It might as well be that idiot.
Right.
So I would
anything. I would go back in time, talk to a friend of mine, and tell him to kick my ass and straighten me out. And
couldn't you just go kick your own ass, or does that cause problems?
Well, that could cause the rift in time, and I'd rather just have my friend do it.
A rift in time saves 9.
That's sad.
I don't want to risk a time.
That's just sad.
Yeah,
it is. It's just sad. that there was pathetic.
Yeah, no, that was my Prospero. I think that's just sad.
Yeah, I love
that's just sad. An idiot can understand it. A 6-year-old can. I'll explain it to you.
You people need to understand business. I just absolutely adored it. BIDNESS.
Business.
The business of America is business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
he was a fun little character. I think it was was it Dana Carvey did this great sketch on SNL back when it was funny, where he was pretending to be Ross Perot, and it was like a campaign ad, and he was basically saying, I'm gonna fix up business if we get GDP up to 1%, I get paid nothing. 2%, nothing. 3%, nothing. 4%, I get $10 million. And then with every percent that came up, he just started talking about how much more money he was going to get paid. This was his campaign scheme. I was sitting here thinking, I think I'd go for that deal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a bargain. You increase GDP by 4%. Holy shit. Here's your 10 million. We'll crowdfund that bitch. I mean, it's no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Prospero's back. I just happened to look over at the screen and it was like, God damn,
There's two of them.
No. It's my evil twin.
I like how when it started, it was the rig, and then Harry took the screen, and I'm like, now's the perfect time.
Yeah, of course it was.
Let's see. Cannibalistic Wizard says, I would go back in time and get like 50K Bitcoins and then go back when Bitcoin was at the highest and sell.
Okay.
Just make sure you get them in the right order. And let's see. Assassin says, Johnny Hellcat, as human skin has a new layer every 3 days and the entire skeleton is replaced every 7 years, you are not the same matter today that you were 10 years ago. Don't know that I completely agree with that.
There's a
when you say it's replaced, do I do the cellular level? Okay, do I? No, we're not going to go into that.
No. It's going to involve mitochondria, and we're not going there.
Well, no.
Kidding.
All I'm going to say is that you could well be the same matter, particularly things like the calcium in your bones, for example. That doesn't really get recycled out. But what he's talking about is the cells in your body, and cells do replace themselves, and you can expect to run through the living cells in your body in about 7 years is what they anticipate. And so you're not the same cells, but a lot of it is actually probably is the same matter. So substitute cells for matter, and I would agree with you.
Yeah, I don't want to break the time crop rule. That's pretty much what I was going for with that.
Yeah, create the endless paradox.
Oh, and Spud Gun reminds me that DAF is a Dutch truck manufacturer. I don't know how I got I must have the wrong name. You're right. You're right. I as soon as you said that, I knew you were right. It's not DAF. There is a Finnish. I remember these tiny little Finnish cars that were running around, that little 3- and 4-wheeled cars that they made, and I thought it was DAF, but it might be something else. Because I remember they came from Finland. That's I should remember this. Because I just saw it in 1967. Now, about a half a century ago. I think I'd remember that. Finish the dam.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm a good starter, but I just can't finish. See what I did there?
You need to go sit in Frosted's corner along with Harry.
Yeah. And
don't be Russian, be Finnish.
Absolutely. Good night, ham and beans. Thanks for coming by, bud.
Old whorehouse joke.
Yeah. Check your logic says I wanted to be 1978 again when I wasn't born. Oh my God, I was getting out of the Navy then.
Isn't it terrifying?
It really is. The children are here. I love Harry's old time things. I am big in that just because it makes me happy.
That man, I want to be that happy once in my life.
Absolutely.
Look at that bastard.
Oh, it's pretty easy. He's a few in.
Yeah, he's got that. He's got his hot wife. He's about to get a big old slice of prime rib.
He's had
He's in
half a
first
bottle of
class.
scotch,
He's had half a bottle of scotch.
and he's getting ready to drink red wine.
Yeah. That what could possibly go wrong?
Like, you should have seen what I had before I got on the plane.
Yeah.
He won't crap for 2 days because he's dehydrated, but he's having the time of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
And isn't that the point of life?
Yes, it is. Although you reach a certain age where you're like,
But flying used to be like that, and they really did come down and carve the meat in front of you, and
Yeah.
cut off a piece of prime rib and give it to you.
And then Sandy Duncan came out and performed in Mary Poppins. It was awesome. No, wait, that was Peter Pan. Never mind.
Okay.
Yep.
So I bet you recognize this window, this airplane just from the windows.
That looks like a constellation.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? It looks like a constellation.
That is a I can't see back to see if it's a Super G.
From this
But it's
angle, you wouldn't be
probably an
able
E.
to tell.
It's probably an E or a G.
But look at that huge ass window. Can you imagine how nice that must have been flying around? Now you've got this little tiny thing that's smaller than the toilet seat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And toilet seat's cleaner.
We were fascinated by those windows when we went over to when we were flying from New Jersey to the Azores, where we had to refuel because couldn't carry enough fuel to get across the Atlantic. We flew to the Azores, landed in the middle of the night. It was awesome. It was
Absolutely
just an amazing
extraordinary
flight.
when you think about the difference, though. Cree and I were talking about this the other day because somebody was talking about somebody I know flew back to Europe from Newark the other day, and they were talking about how long the flight was, and I was like, yeah, they ought to take a plane to Johannesburg.
Yeah, no kidding. Or Singapore.
But yeah, because Cree flew to Johannesburg, and 17 hours with no stop.
Yep.
17 hours in the air with no stop because it's this big jumbo giant fuel skinned bird. Just the distance that you can get when you've got that much space to store fuel.
Yep.
Is extraordinary.
Denver to Singapore is 20 hours in the air.
Joyous.
Yeah. It was actually 20 hours to China. We 20 hours to Hong Kong. We changed planes in Hong Kong. And it was 20 hours from Denver to Hong Kong. And it was four more hours from Hong Kong to Singapore. Yeah. I just remember thinking a 4-hour flight seemed short.
Yes.
The first time I went to Singapore.
It's a little bit like if you go on a long road trip and you drive several thousands of miles.
Yes.
And then the next time you make what routinely you think of as
a long drive.
Like a 3.5, 4 hour drive. And it's by in an instant.
And it's like,
yeah, it's like, wait,
yeah.
how did that happen? And then it's like, well, yes, because it wasn't like all the way across the state of Nebraska or all, it was not, it's scale, dear, scale. But that happened to us after we went to New Orleans because we had traveled so much by car. And I mean, the days we truncated the length of time, many days, but we did drive from Memphis to Knoxville, which was, pretty much chewed up a good portion of a day. And then we were headed down to the beach, which I always think, oh God, we're never going to get there. And we were there in an instant. And I thought, what is the matter with my sense of time? And then the penny dropped. It's like, that's right. I was used to much longer periods of time in the car. I like breaking trips up, though. It's a nice thing about a road trip is you can schedule 3 to 4 hour drives and stop interesting places, or maybe places that you didn't think were going to be that interesting that turned out to be.
No, that's true. You know, it's interesting you should talk about that. Just a personal note here. Brenda and I are, when she's going to retire at the end of this year.
Yay.
And when she retires, she and I may not put in the garden next year because we're going to buy a van and start traveling.
Good plan.
We both love road trips, and we'll just go here and there.
Yeah, good plan.
Yep.
You got a place to sleep. Hook up at RV parks that have nice facilities.
Exactly.
You know, you're in Lake Flynn. Just footloose and do a little footloose and fancy free.
My son just bought a 40-foot luxury motorhome.
Yeah, I got a friend who's got one of those. The house on wheels. The literal house on wheels.
This is a gooseneck. This does not, it's not like a school bus. This is something you have to haul with a truck. So he bought himself a $60,000 truck to go in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and after one season of owning it, he's trying to sell the RV.
Yeah.
He's learned the boat lesson.
Yes. Hauling and parking and backing up and all those fun things are pains in the ass.
He also has power and water problems. It's underpowered, doesn't have enough power in it. And he said that was the biggest disappointment. He said, but also just he's not satisfied with the way some of the internal parts work. Actually, he has a lot of dissatisfaction. That he said I basically learned a $60,000 lesson.
Yeah. Friends of ours bought the bus style, the big honking, holy shitter. It's a second home.
Yeah, right.
That's basically
people
what it
live
is.
In those. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, see, I wouldn't buy one of those and park it at my house and continue to work. I'd buy it in one of those, sell my house, and live wherever the hell I wanted to, spending the most amount of time in a tax-free state.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would spend long enough in Florida, you know, or Tennessee, possibly,
or Texas.
Yeah, and also skip the property taxes that go into the tax-free state. You know, where you're not paying those real estate taxes.
Yeah, you don't want Texas then.
Well, people are
our property taxes are high.
Of course they are, because you don't have personal income tax. The same with Florida, high personal property taxes, but it all depends on where you're coming from. You know, for a lot of snowbirds, it's a bargain. Now, if you're coming from like the Mid-Atlantic, the calculus gets a lot tighter. You know, like cost of living can vary, but those property taxes can bite you in the butt unless you want to live in a hut. You know, and there's downsizing, and then there's, oh my God, you know. Yeah. I still need like room for my books and some of my shit, you know. It's
well, you know, that's the thing. You know, we'll start out small, do a few things in Texas, but then we're going bad. We're going to be nationwide.
Yeah. Now's the time to do it. You're not getting younger.
Yeah. One of the things I want to do is go out and see some of my friends in Colorado and California. We definitely will make a California trip because that is one of Brenda's favorite states.
Take Route 66.
If you ever motor west,
it's the best.
Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino.
You know, that always reminded me of the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. Whenever I listen to that song, do you hear the lonesome whistle play? Da-da. You know, I mean, it's just Gibson
Paxton
girls, you know.
and Santa Fe.
Yeah, it's just it's funny the little patterns that develop because so many railways were named for the towns they stopped in. You know, the smaller railways. I don't mean like Seaboard Coastline or that kind of thing. Because, you know, in New England, it was the NYNH and H. New York, New Haven, and Hartford. But nobody called it that. It was the NYNH and H.
You can tell the older roads in Texas because they're named for the ranches they connected.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see Kelly Elliott Road, there was no person named Kelly Elliott. That was the road that connected the Elliott Ranch to the Kelly Ranch. And then you could take the Kelly Perkins Road. These are roads. Kelly Perkins Road and Kelly Elliott Road are roads in Arlington, Texas. You can still take, and but those were that's what they were named for. That one of the things about once you get out of the city of Dallas, and until you get into Fort Worth, our roads are very irregular. We have a lot of trick roads because they basically follow cow paths. And cows can't walk in a straight line.
Yeah, they're like spur lines, but they're roads.
Oh, well, we have, and Dallas itself actually has a number of trick roads. It's not like Chicago, which is an easy city to get around, and all you have to do is look at the street sign. You know exactly where you are in the city.
Yeah, people bitch
because it gives you latitude and longitude basically for
people
the numbers.
Bitch about New York, but it's a grid.
Yeah, it is.
You get into Boston, ha!
Oh,
You
Boston!
know,
Boston is like a nightmare city.
Except for
you can't get there from here. Sussex, maybe.
Except the back, you know, the Back Bay, which is gridded in a good section of it. But it's all
there are actually parts of it that are grid. You can
the Back Bay is
townlets, you know, that are grids. But then you get out into like Billerica and Chelmsford.
Oh, all of those.
And those are just random roads that just go all over the fucking place.
Yeah. No, but I meant for a city, like a city grid. Boston has a portion of it is because it was all the landfill stuff that, you know, they learned. But, oh, yeah. And I mean, you know, you ask people directions and they'll tell you to bear left and bear right. They're not going to tell you to turn left and turn right. And you literally are bearing because it's more like a fork in the road rather than a turn.
Speaking of bearing, I can't wait to hear his video.
Oh boy,
on the Roe v. Wade thing, and you know he will.
It ought to be fun.
It'll be on the Salt Festival that's being had right now.
I know, really. It's just make sure to drink plenty of water, kids. Your kidneys can't take this much salt.
Yeah.
So, there you.
Well, we've been your minions, and this has been your zoo. Have we been entertaining or what?
We've certainly been entertaining ourselves, but no, I just enjoy getting together on Tuesdays and having a little convo. It's not too formal. We kind of go all over the place, but we hit the high points, and you know, I don't have a lot of ambition for this. Anytime somebody can show me pictures of San Francisco and a Lockheed Constellation, I'm a happy man.
I ran those San Francisco pictures through the AI software, by the way. I denoised them and cleaned them up quite a bit.
That's amazing stuff. You should bring on like on Saturday. You should show people what you can do with those. Show the before and after because it's really quite. It's quite a bit of enhancement.
You can do it in your technology section.
It can be. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, do a little technology section.
Yeah.
And, do your Mr. Wizard.
Never give up on a little self-indulgence in a show.
Oh, I don't know if you heard last Saturday. We were plenty self-indulgent.
Oh yeah, I did. I was listening in. I had to catch the rest of it the next morning because I began going to sleep sitting up because I'd been up a long time that day. But it's one of those things that I hate. I actually made note of when I stopped it so I could go right back.
You need to get your rest
Yeah.
because you're about to go through it.
Oh, God. I know.
despise moving. I
I-
hate it.
I
Worse
do
than
too.
fire.
I do too, but it's
If
needed.
you're going to do it, you need your rest. You need to be bright and perky.
Yeah,
least
and I will let you know
awake.
when we have a much better idea of closing, because I'm pretty certain for the week or so leading up to that, and possibly the week or so after, my availability may be nil, because I may not have reliable internet yet.
I
It'll all
understand.
depend on how things hook up. But
We'll play it by ear.
yep,
It'll be okay.
people be like, "Yeah, she's just on vacation," and be like, "My aching feet."
No, that'll be fine. I just I think it's so cool that you're getting to move into a place like that. That's just gonna. I really
Yeah.
think it's gonna change your life. I really do.
I'm really looking forward to living in that community. You know, yes, I'm looking forward to the house, but the community. Oh God, I love that.
Oh, blood cards, they're so good.
Yeah.
People think you're a bitch.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Well, whether you think we're bitches or sassy, it doesn't matter, folks, because it's come to the end of the evening, and I want to thank you guys for spending 2 hours with us. Thank my panel for spending 2 hours with me, and we have been your minions of the zoo. We've had a great time with you this evening, and we're going to close it out for tonight. Anybody got any final words they want to say?
Calm down.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming by. The zoo is closed.